Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. It's all over the news. Trump threatens to prosecute jail opponents. We can't delay any longer. Politico, BBC, PBS, Wikipedia even has a section on targeting of political opponents under Trump's second term. When they tried to imprison Trump for 4 years, indicting him 1,000,000 times. That was purely about the rule of law. The Steele dossier was literally purchased by Hillary Clinton and the DNC. Imagine if Rudy Giuliani and the RNC purchased a dossier that said Hillary or Joe or Harris or President Obama or anyone were found in a Moscow hotel room. Anyway, they would never stand for the manner in which they treat Trump leveled against them. We see that now. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. President Trump is playing the James Brown song, The Big Payback, on continual loop. Go to H.A. Goodman's other channel after this. Let's get started. This is huge. You're going to see a lot more indictments and arrests coming up. He already has 3 with Bolton this week.
Former FBI Director Jim Comey pleaded not guilty to federal charges of making false statements to Congress and obstruction. Meanwhile, New York Attorney General Letitia James was indicted by a federal grand jury in Virginia on bank fraud charges for allegedly making false statements on a mortgage application that netted her about $19,000. Joining me now with more on all of this is Matt Taibbi. He is editor-in-chief of Racket News, and Mike Davis. He is president of the Article 3 Project. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Let me first get your reaction to all of this. Matt Taibbi.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Comey case, especially with the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, all the Crossfire investigations, I thought at the time those should have been enormous Watergate level stories because it was about surveillance of a major party presidential candidate. Now, I think in conjunction with Arctic frost, you have all these senators who are finally seeing that domestic political surveillance has been a major unreported problem in this country for a long time.
Wow. Well, yeah, we just spoke with a senator who was really affected. Bill Hagerty was tracked, and he said it happened to him 3 times. Mike, is all of this connected? We've been covering, obviously, the Russia collusion lie for a decade, and my viewers are well aware that it was fake from day one. But do you think this is all connected, and is this enough to create a conspiracy charge against Jim Comey and his friends who were part of that cabal?
Yeah, those indictments we just saw for Comey and Tish James are the appetizer indictments. And the big one, the main course, is going to be the conspiracy against rights under 18 U.S.C. Section 241. I've publicly called for this for the last 3+ years since the Mar-a-Lago raid. Remember this with the Russian collusion hoax. The Democrats made this up to help Hillary Clinton's campaign, to cover up her corruption, and to take out presidential candidate Donald Trump.
I wrote about 18 U.S. Code 371 in the Federalist in 2019. You could type in H.A. Goodman Federalist. I was telling people on my channel and in my writing that they set up and framed Trump, and there are legal statutes that they broke. So you can go to hagoodman.com, or you can go to just type in H.A. Goodman Federalist. You can see the writing in the Federalist.
Failed. President Trump went into office, and so they tried to destroy him while he was in office, and they tried to destroy him with the lawfare because he declassified Crossfire Hurricane before he left office the first time.
And you believe that the Mar-a-Lago raid was also part of it. They were actually looking for the assessment of Russia's influence campaign targeting the 2016 presidential election. It was declassified. I have it right here. Do you believe that's what they were looking for?
1,000%. And those people who did this raid, like Jay Bratz and others, they did this to cover up their own corruption. This is the biggest scandal in American history. They politicized and weaponized intel agencies and law enforcement to take out their political enemy. This is third.
This is indeed the biggest scandal in American history. They purchased a dossier The dossier is just one of the many things. It was published in BuzzFeed. It was viewed as raw intelligence. The DNC and Clinton's campaign were able to funnel a compilation of lies into the United States government, where the FBI director, the CIA director, and others under them broke the law. So there will be superseding indictments almost certainly for Comey, Letitia James in terms of the other mortgage issues we talked about today, Brennan, Hillary Clinton. Nobody on the planet, well, there's some people, but nobody on the planet really is talking about Hillary Clinton being indicted. I've been telling you it's going to be that all these people, including Madam Secretary, will be indicted by President Trump's Department of Justice. Hit subscribe if you're new.
World stuff. And I would say to these lawfare Democrats, justice is definitely coming.
Matt, this is all pretty extraordinary.
It is, but I think we're now finally seeing the proper perspective on it. I agree with Mr. Davis. This is an enormous story. It should have been an enormous story at the time. It's just that we're finally realizing how serious it was.
Indictment. Stay with us, Mike Davis and Matt Davis. And I want to get your take on who you believe is next in terms of indictments to come. Matt Taibbi, what do you think?
Well, I think some of the releases that came out of the Director of National Intelligence's office earlier this year from Tulsi Gabbard and from the DOJ point to some of those former intelligence chiefs like John Brennan, James Clapper, for instance. I was also told repeatedly that Hillary Clinton was a target of some of these investigations, although nobody could tell me exactly what crime she was being investigated for, but that she was a target. So,
likely perjury during the Durham probe, conspiracy statutes. The Durham probe ended 2 years ago. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the basis for the conspiracy statutes that President Trump's DOJ will level. They conspired. They fabricated everything. Okay, literally everything was fabricated. Russia was not afraid of Democrats. Never. They never were. They're not afraid of Republicans or Democrats. The whole thing was absurd nonsense. It was like Dungeons and Dragons, like a fantasy world that they created. And they broke the law. 18 U.S. Code 371 is a statute that I knew they broke in 2019.
I think you should look at the RUSSIAGATE actors who are in those documents, and then probably also some of the other executive branch folks.
Mike, how far up the chain does this go?
I think it goes all the way up to the top, to President Obama, to Vice President Biden, to Hillary Clinton, Comey, Brennan, Clapper, so many players within the Obama and Biden administration. And I think it also includes the lawfare Democrats, these prosecutors who coordinated with the Biden White House to bring these indictments against President Trump.
And there's also a grand jury being prepared right now, right?
There is a new grand jury in Fort Pierce, Florida, and that would be a good place to do this grand jury investigation for what they did to President Trump.
The Mar-a-Lago raid was criminal. There was no reason to raid Mar-a-Lago. If the FBI didn't treat, for example, Clinton's private servers with top secret intelligence, if they didn't raid the homes of former presidents linked to top secret intelligence on servers, computer servers where Comey doesn't even know, or I'm sure he knows, but Comey never explained how Hillary was able to obtain classified emails. The entire planet just assumes that on the BlackBerry or on the cell phone in 2009 and 2010, she was able to obtain classified data, and on those servers, they were just emailed. Top secret and special access program intelligence was just emailed. It's like, well, how? How is that even possible from a cybersecurity perspective? Then Comey writes the Comey letter, literally telling Dianne Feinstein, you've seen it on this channel, it's on YouTube during the congressional segment, that Uma Abedin was forwarding classified data to Anthony Weiner, and that's why he wrote the Comey letter, but they couldn't find evidence of intent. Of course there was intent to hide information. That's why you would own a private server. But when the FBI went after Trump under, when the Department of Justice under Biden went after Trump and raided Mar-a-Lago, when Biden's administration raided Mar-a-Lago right before 2024, and they tried to imprison Trump during an election year, what they did was criminal. So the indictments, the third indictment bolted in this week, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Hit subscribe if you're new.
Simply an attack.
Ran for office on the pledge to nail Donald Trump.
Fox News contributor and constitutional law attorney Jonathan Turley joins us now. Do you see anything wrong with what she did, Jonathan? Welcome.
Well, I don't remember Mamdani coming out and denouncing James when she ran for office on the pledge to nail Donald Trump for something, not even specifying what it might be, or when she charged him in a fraud case where no one lost money. And in fact, the banks wanted additional loans from Trump and his organization. None of these people were objecting to any of that lawfare. Now, does that mean that this is a lead pipe cinch of a case or that there's not problems? Of course not. This is going to be a tough case for the Department of Justice to be able to land. While they got this case out of New York, it's in a very blue district in Virginia. And also, there's going to be some threshold challenges here, and one of them has some merit. It doesn't mean it's going to prevail. James is likely to say that the acting U.S. attorney who signed off on these charges was not appropriately appointed and therefore should not have held that office. And if that is the case, then the indictment would go down.
Well, to the overall case itself, though, I want to rewind the clock back to February 16th of last year, when Letitia James really was, I guess, for lack of a better word, bragging about the fact that she was trying to hold Donald Trump to account, saying, quote, "When powerful people cheat to get better loans, it comes at the expense of hardworking people. Everyday Americans cannot lie to a bank to get a mortgage. And if they did, our government would throw the book at them. There simply cannot be different rules for different people." It's a little ironic, I think, in hindsight.
Well, John, what's really ironic is she just asked for $500 million of damages against Trump in a case where no one lost any money. In fact, the bank made money. In this case, the government's alleging that she made serious money, that by misrepresenting the status of this property, she made thousands of dollars. And so, unlike her case, they can actually cite to money that ended up benefiting her. Now, does that mean that they can make this case with an entire jury in Northern Virginia? I think the odds still favor James. There's also a good chance that this technicality that she's likely to raise could delay the case. The argument is that the president has 120 days to assign an acting U.S. attorney, but he had already used that period with her predecessor. And there's also a suggestion that the reason that predecessor was let go or forced out is that he was not going to sign off on this prosecution. So it's going to get very messy very fast in this case.
Jazzo, we'll finish off with on whether this is political retribution on the part of President Trump. This is A.G. Bondi taking a question on that, on whether Trump was pressuring the DOJ to go after his enemies, including James Comey. Listen.
President Trump is the most transparent president in American history, and I don't think he said anything that he hasn't said for years. Comey was indicted in the Eastern District of Virginia by, I may point out, one of the most liberal grand juries in the country.
I'm going to get a last thought from you on that, Jonathan.
Well, both Comey and James are likely to make two claims, vindictive prosecution and selective prosecution. Those are very difficult claims to make in court. They will be citing President Trump in that posting of his, complaining that why haven't you indicted these people? And that is going to be the central piece of evidence they use to try to make out those claims.
But how different is that, Professor, than Tish James campaigning on "I'm going to get Trump"?
It's not different, but the question is whether they will be able to prevail now in federal court. James went to New York court and got a very favorable judge. We'll see how this plays out. But those types of cases, and I've made those types of arguments in court as criminal defense attorney, they are very hard to make. Judges do not like to look at motivations if there is an otherwise valid crime in the indictment.
So Hunter Biden and President Trump both told judges that they were being prosecuted because of who they were, and it was politics. In Trump's case, it was politics. With Hunter and the Bidens, you had 51 intelligence officials going to bat for them. So there was so much corruption there. What Democrats did is they allowed certain charges to be leveled against Hunter to circumvent the reality that there was almost certain bribery and graft. That's why 51 intelligence officials said that it was a Russian plot to inform you of Democrats and other corruption. That's why the DNC emails are a Russian plot. Every bad thing that happens to the Democratic Party is a plot by the Russians.
Justice Department seeking to indict former FBI Director Jim Comey over perjury, saying that he lied to Congress during his 2020 hearing about the handling of Russia collusion investigation and who leaked information to the press. Watch this.
Mr. McCabe, who works for you, has publicly and repeatedly stated that he leaked information to the Wall Street Journal and that you were directly aware of it and that you directly authorized it.
I can only speak to my testimony. I stand by what the testimony you summarized that I gave in May of 2017.
So your testimony is you've never authorized anyone to leak.
I'm not going to characterize Andy's testimony, but mine is the same today.
Jim Comey walking a balance there and not saying too much. Devin Nunes joined me back in 2018 on Sunday Morning Futures talking about the movement of this information and whether or not it was Jim Comey who told Andrew McCabe to leak to the Wall Street Journal that Trump had colluded with Russia. Watch this.
Mr. McCabe has been recommended that he face criminal charges. Now, his lawyer, and he has a right to his lawyer has said, no, this is not true what the IG, Mr. Comey, is lying, essentially, is what Mr. McCabe is saying, that Comey did give him the right to go talk to the press. So, this all has to be fleshed out. Clearly, the IG doesn't believe, the IG believed Mr. Comey, that Comey did not give Mr. McCabe the ability to go talk to the press. Now, as it relates to Mr. Comey, you've got the added problem now that the memos that he wrote, the 7 memos that he decided to write on President Trump, never wrote memos on any of the other meetings he had with the other president or the AG or anyone else prior to this, but he kept 7 memos. 4 of those were classified. He decided to launder them to a friend who then leaked them to the New York Times. If those memos contain classified information, he purposely did that. He purposely leaked them in order to get a special counsel started after he was fired. He leaked pieces of these, so we need to figure out exactly what is it that he leaked. Who did he give these memos to? And was it just the friend that leaked them to the New York Times, or were there others? I believe there were others. I think that these Comey memos were actually given to several people. It contained classified information. The irony is the very thing that Mr. Comey cleared Mrs. Clinton of.
The Inspector General report and investigation was essentially like a police department investigating itself. Let's say there's a corrupt department in the government investigating itself. The Inspector General did not get information that he needed to make to conclude anything of substance. All he was able to conclude was that there was immense bias among a whole bunch of people against Trump, but there wasn't testimonial or documentary bias on an institutional level. So you had Comey and McCabe and all these people lying while at the same time trying to defend themselves, but they had to keep up a lie. So on page 28 of, I think it's 28 of the Inspector General report on the Comey and McCabe incident, Comey's legal counsel lists 3 or 4 reasons why McCabe should be trusted over James Comey. And Andrew McCabe has always stated that Comey gave him the green light or allowed him to leak the information. And one of the reasons they accused McCabe of leaking information is because he got money from Democrats and people associated with Clinton. Every single thing is linked to the Clintons. So it's like, and the way Democrats work as well, you can't prove anything. It's the catch me if you can, mentality always. But with Trump, anything that happens in the known universe has to be his fault.
A Virginia grand jury is expected to release a decision on this in the coming days. The 5-year deadline to bring charges against Comey is now approaching on Tuesday. So the DOJ is up against a statute of limitations. Joining me now is lawyer and founder of Article 3 Project.
So he was indicted. People will be indicted and convicted. And there are going to be a number of people going to jail. Is it going to be Hillary Clinton? I don't know. Who knows? Okay. I would bet more on the indictment than any jail time. Okay. But Clinton will get indicted. Comey will. Comey did. Brennan will. It's very difficult. Brennan is not Hillary Clinton. So John Brennan, he lied so many times under oath. It'd be very difficult for a person like John Brennan and others, if found guilty of perjury, not to go to prison.
Project and President Mike Davis. Mike, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. So the crux of it and what they can come up with against Jim Comey today, 5 years later, is that he lied under oath about directing Andy McCabe to share with the press that Trump colluded with Russia. Do you think they'll be successful here?
I do think that they should seek an indictment in the Eastern District of Virginia because this is a very serious matter. What the allegation here is that the Obama White House and his Justice Department and his intel agencies, including the FBI, made up the Russian collusion hoax to help Hillary Clinton's campaign and to hurt President Trump's campaign, and they continued this conspiracy to this day. And when the Senate Judiciary Committee was investigating this Russian collusion hoax, James Comey allegedly perjured himself and obstructed the congressional investigation. Those are very serious felonies, and so there must be accountability for this. I also think there are going to be other criminal probes on Crossfire Hurricane separate from the Eastern District of Virginia, maybe another probe looking at the broader conspiracy.
So, Mike, there was a lot gone wrong with this whole operation, Crossfire Hurricane. Jim Comey pursued this investigation into investigating Trump colluding with Russia, despite the fact that there was absolutely zero evidence to actually originate an investigation in the first place. Is there criminality there? Putting the lying under oath aside for a moment, is there other criminality that you can look at?
Absolutely. We have to step back and remember this is the greatest scandal in American history.
That's right.
This Watergate is nothing compared to this. It's like nothing. Watergate was a break-in and then a cover-up of a break-in. That's it. That's all it was. This is the United States government being leveled against one man, and one man going 2 terms, winning, triumphant, and they tried to take one individual, we'll say one individual tried to take Trump's life. Okay. But you could also say a political side tried to take Trump's life, and a firefighter lost his life that day.
Have a president of the United States and his top aides and advisors colluding with intel agencies and law enforcement to take out their political enemy, to help their political ally, to change the outcome of an election.
John, thank you so much to my super chat. Thank you. Thank you, John. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you.
When they failed to do that in 2016, they continued this conspiracy to this day to take out President Trump. And so, yes, this is very serious. This is a conspiracy. This is obstruction. This is perjury. This is you can't get more serious than this when you are using intel agencies and law enforcement to rig and steal elections.
It's just unbelievable. And believe me, I understand how big this is. We all lived it together. And I reported at the time that we had no evidence of any Russia collusion. And how did this investigation originate in the first place? But the idea of conspiracy, Mike, I want you to drill down on that for a moment, because when I spoke with John Ratcliffe, who was really the truth teller in all of this, between Devin Nunes and John Ratcliffe, that is the only way the public really got real information. But Ratcliffe told me recently that when you're looking at conspiracy, and it looks like that's what this was, conspiracy against Donald Trump, there is no statute of limitations. Do you agree with that?
Well, you can look at, for example, conspiracy against rights under 18 U.S.C. Section 241. Joe Biden and Jack Smith and their Justice Department is very familiar with conspiracy against rights, because it is one of the bogus charges that Jack Smith brought against President Trump for questioning the 2020 election. But what they did was actually a conspiracy against rights when you politicize and weaponize law enforcement and intel agencies to take out your political opponents for non-crimes. That seems like a textbook definition of conspiracy against rights. And generally, there's a 5-year statute of limitations for federal felonies, including conspiracy. But the conspiracy continues to this day. Covering up the conspiracy continues the conspiracy. Yeah. So there's no statute of limitation problem with conspiracy.
So do you expect an indictment of Jim Comey this week?
I hope so, because as the Democrats always say, nobody is above the law. So I would tell James Comey, you better lawyer up, buddy.
All right.
And there will be more charges. Check this out.
Because we know for charges stemming from the RUSSIAGATE hoax and the investigation. He's facing 2 counts, lying to Congress and obstruction of justice. But former House Intelligence Committee Chairman and current Trump Media CEO Devin Nunes tells me it's entirely possible more charges are coming for Comey and more former intel officials. Watch.
Comey has long been a liar, a leaker. He's dishonest. He ruined the FBI. He will be lucky if there is not a grand conspiracy charge brought, which is really what should be brought against probably about 24 characters in the United States over the last 7-8 years.
Should there be more charges against Jim Comey?
Very specific, and it's over whether or not he lied on this one part. The larger part is whether or not you can bring a kind of grand conspiracy case. And, people talk about, there's the law, which is, lying to Congress, lying to the FBI, but there's also a term in there called misleading. And what a lot of these guys did is they made up things using intelligence that didn't exist, but acted like they knew something that actually wasn't there, and they lied and misled the American people. The only intelligence that they had is that the Russians were very well aware of Clinton's plan, and they actually not only thought Clinton was going to win, but likely preferred that she would win. So going back to the cover-up of her missing emails, that, by the way, are still missing, they all got involved in this plan.
The NSA almost certainly, I'm just speculating, has every single one of Clinton's emails, just like it has every single one of every government official's emails. I'm speculating here. I could be wrong. almost certainly every adversary on the planet has Clinton's emails that were on secret servers. It's so outlandish, but nobody cares.
They all got the FBI exercise.
President Trump was asked about the investigation on Friday. He did not mince words on just what he thinks of Comey.
Justice, or is it about revenge?
It's about justice, really. It's not revenge. It's about justice. It's also about the fact that you can't let this go on. They are sick, radical left people, and they can't get away with it. And Comey was one of the people. He wasn't the biggest, but he's a dirty cop. He's always been a dirty cop. Everybody knew it.
Yeah, the question now is, will we see a bigger charge here, Liz Peek? You heard what Devin Nunes said, and I think the whole crux of this idea is the fact that they misled the court, they misled the American people. Is that part of a grander conspiracy that they try to play against President Trump? That's what Lindsey Graham said, as well as Devin Nunes. And if we have the court proving that there is a larger grand conspiracy here, and that's the reason that they also, by the way, raided Mar-a-Lago to get the report on what they did for Russia collusion, that's what you've got coming out now. That's what people are talking about. Devin Nunes, and here's Lindsey Graham, who at the time was the chairman of the Judiciary Committee when they perpetrated this on Trump. Watch this.
He's presumed innocent until proven otherwise. If I'm the Department of Justice, I better get my best lawyers on the field, because Patrick Fitzgerald, Comey's lawyer, is a great lawyer. But the idea he leaked classified information to create a narrative politically, I think that's a strong case. But there's so much else. In 2016.
Whenever they say, "Oh, that's a great lawyer," okay, he could be a very good. You could have a great legal counsel, great lawyer. But great lawyers are like it's like Bill Belichick with Tom Brady, or Phil Jackson with Kobe and Shaq, and Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Okay, it's a good lawyer because they have a case that favors their clients, or they've won cases where they were right. Their clients were on the side of justice. Good luck trying to defend John Brennan, James Clapper, or Comey, because they lied a million times, and they used a dossier purchased by Clinton. Okay, there's also something called the Trump curse, which is I'm joking about, not really. I'm joking, not really. Every single person who has tried to harm Trump has had their life upended. Every single person. It's unbelievable.
Comey received a memo from the intelligence community, an investigative lead, suggesting that it was Hillary Clinton's campaign who signed off on the plan to link Trump to Russia to avoid her problems. Now, the question is, did they ever take that allegation seriously? He told me that doesn't ring a bell when I asked him in 2020. Can you imagine the Republican candidate for president, that you got a memo from the CIA saying it may be his opponent who's starting this line of inquiry, and the FBI did nothing about it? So Patel's going to tell me if whether or not they opened up an investigation. So every time there was some exculpatory information, the court never heard about it. Yeah. Every person who signed the Carter Page warrant said, if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have signed it. Comey knew then what we all know now and ignored it. I believe he withheld exculpatory information from the court because he wanted Trump to be found guilty. The memo from the Intel Committee in September 2016 was addressed to Comey, suggesting Hillary Clinton was behind this, and a copy went to Strzok. Did they take it seriously? I want to know that answer to that question.
They have all the emails. Kash Patel, John Ratcliffe at CIA. John Ratcliffe was like smiling with Maria Bartiromo the other day, talking about indictments, future indictments. Like this is going to be for the next year. Every single month, Brennan, Comey, Letitia James, Hillary Clinton eventually, former Bureau and DOJ officials, all of these people that went after Trump broke almost certainly, we'll just use the word almost certainly, potentially, like the Honorable James Comey says, potentially broke the law. You cannot use a dossier. You can't use phony and fabricated intelligence, okay, to set up and frame and imprison your political opponent. You can't do that. Can't do that. No, no good. You're not a morally superior liberal Democrat if you do that.
So Liz Peek, weigh in here, because we know that John Brennan knew that Hillary Clinton was putting together this whole fantasy of Trump colluding with Russia. He was in that Oval Office meeting at the end of 2016 or early 2017, and he wrote his little notes there. We have a picture of it, and we have the memo of the notes that basically told all of them Hillary Clinton, and the Russians are aware that Hillary Clinton is coming up with a story that Trump is somehow tied to Russia as a way to hide her own email scandal.
Yeah, Maria, there's no question that James Comey was part and parcel of a grand conspiracy, basically to, I would say, destabilize the Trump presidency, to put it under pressure from day one, because the American people were led to believe that he was a tool of Vladimir Putin. And sadly, you continue to hear that charge raised over and over again. They did a great job of smearing this government. And we spent, 2-3 years through the courts, through various kinds of investigations, trying to prove that Vladimir Putin had organized and run the election that elected Donald Trump, when in fact just the opposite was true. He was gunning for Hillary Clinton to become president. So I think anything they can throw at James Comey is too little. I think he was basically the head of all of this. On the other hand, they better be sure it sticks. They better be sure it's narrow enough that they can convict this guy, because to go through all this and to go back in time to bring these charges, and Lindsey Graham's totally right. He's a slippery guy. He's got good lawyers. This better be solid, and I sure hope it is.
Again, the lawyers, it's like one of the wonderful people in the comment section said, the jurisdiction, the judge. But when they say oh, it's a great lawyer, well, okay, you're not dealing with people who set up the past 10 years of American history has been fabricated in a way, not history itself. We have had to deal with a hoax, a myth. They created mythology. Putin didn't care about Hillary Clinton or Trump. He wasn't afraid of Democrats. Not for 1 second were the Russians afraid of Democrats. Oh my God. And they didn't influence even one vote, which is exactly what Democrats said in 2020. Well, how can you prove it? It's like, well, can you prove Russian collusion? No. Can you prove the Russians interfered? No. How many votes were altered? That's the same thing they said in 2020 with somebody, God bless him, wish him only the best, committed criminal acts, but couldn't even speak. He couldn't speak then. And that's less than 4 years later, George Clooney threw, and Hollywood and media kicked him to the curb politically. But he still was the most popular candidate of all time, don't you know? So which is more likely, shenanigans in 2020, or that the Russians were afraid of the Democrats? Oh, they were so afraid. That's why they invaded when Biden was in office. Anyway, let's continue. Hit subscribe if you're new.
Welcome back. A Democrat whistleblower has emerged saying that the then Democrat chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, authorized leaks of classified information to damage President Trump during his first term.
So Shifty is another one. Another indictment there. Trump is not going to stop at the mortgage. So Letitia James, the classified data and all of that, she doesn't have to worry about perjury or, whistleblowers. Well, maybe. I don't think Cuomo, she probably, they all have, the Tammany Hall that exists in New York now, Democrats, they've turned on each other. You saw what they did to the mayor. And Letitia James, I think, helped oust Cuomo. I believe that's the story. So, you know what? Who knows what's going on within the Democratic Party in New York? But You have people. Shifty is one of them. Perjury, classified data being leaked. There's so many leaks. That's why you had 10 years of the most hysterical, apoplectic media coverage. That's why most Americans do not trust media, because media was an extension of one political party, an echo chamber for Democrats.
The whistleblower, a longtime Democrat staffer on the House Intelligence Committee, said Schiff was upset because he expected to be the CIA director in a Hillary Clinton presidency. In a statement to Fox News,
Could you imagine Adam Schiff is the CIA director under Hillary Clinton? This is like the all-stars of deceit.
a spokesperson for Schiff said this: Kash Patel's latest smear against Senator Schiff is absolutely and categorically false and is the latest in a series of defamatory attacks from the president and his allies meant to distract from their plummeting poll numbers and the Epstein files scandal. Joining me now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the director of...
If Trump was on the EP files, they would have released them years ago. They were so desperate to just ruin Trump. They have nothing on Trump. The files are almost certainly all corrupted, and the important information deleted because, oh, by the way, it probably links to Democrats, since EP was a Democratic donor, gave to Kerry, gave to Schumer, gave to congressional Democrats, and to Hillary Clinton.
Of the DOJ Weaponization Working Group, Ed Martin. He is investigating the weaponization of government, including Adam Schiff, New York Attorney General Letitia James for mortgage fraud, and the January 6th probe, among others. Ed Martin, great to have you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Oh, always a pleasure, Maria.
And Ed, it has really, truly been a decade of dirty tricks, and that's being kind about it, against Donald Trump, beginning with the Russia hoax, to the impeachments, to the indictments, to the Hunter Biden laptop. Assess for us the last 10 years in your view, and you have criminal referrals right now on Adam Schiff, Letitia James, among others. What is the status?
Well, first of all, thanks for asking about the last 10 years. I mean, you know, when Donald Trump came into office as president, he signed an executive order saying, go and find out how government was weaponized against the citizens. When Attorney General Bondi came into office, she put a memo, put more specifics to it, and said, get to the bottom of this. She gave a specific list and a broad charge. And I have to tell you, for your viewers, we have the Attorney General Bondi has that Department of Justice spinning like a top. We've got more stuff going on. A lot of it we can't talk about because of the nature of it, but it's going like crazy. And one of them was, we were in a group, we're still in it, working on the Russia hoax. And Tulsi Gabbard declassified what happened, and she sent it over to us, to DOJ, as a criminal referral, and that's ongoing now. But what that was, and Maria, you're one of the earliest, I think you might be the only person, the only journalist who said early on, this is a Russia hoax. And you know, Brett had President Trump on an interview on that flight to Alaska, and in the interview, President Trump said the Russia hoax was meant to destroy the relationship with Russia, make it impossible to get things under control, get a reset like Hillary said she wanted. So what we have in the Department of Justice now is a weaponization working group and the backing of our leadership to go and find this stuff. And so the Russia hoax, we know the birthday of the Russia hoax. It's December 8th, 2016, where the Obama administration, including Obama, said, don't put the truth out, lie, and ask the media to help us, and the Washington Post and others jumped right in. And then we had the Russia hoax that went on for 10 years. And every time they get in trouble, meaning the deep state and others, they throw another hoax out. And all we're doing at DOJ and all we're doing across the government is saying, get the truth out. And then, by the way, let's hold people accountable. And that's exactly what's going on. So when Bill Pulte sends a criminal referral over to us, and he says Letitia James and Adam Schiff, and by the way, both their lawyers have come out and talked
publicly about that criminal referral so you can talk to them about the specifics, because I'm going to tell you what we're going to do is we're going to follow the facts. Every American that has a mortgage or has other documents they sign has to follow the law. We're going to go to the very bottom of the facts, and if somebody did something wrong, we're not only going to hold them accountable, we're also going to look at everything else that they've been doing, because when you're a liar, you lie not just on one thing. When you're a cheater, you cheat not just on one thing. When you're doing corruption, you generally don't just do it on one thing. So that's our what we're asked to do as prosecutors, and that's what we're doing.
And they say it's political retribution, but the legal standard that they created for Trump is being utilized against them. They created the legal standard where every single document has to be filled out correctly. That's what they said about Trump. They didn't say, well, he's a former president. Let's respect him. Okay. Deutsche Bank literally wants to work with him again. We have no case here. They said, oh my God, Mar-a-Lago is worth $25. He inflated his net worth. He's not a billionaire. In fact, he wasn't really president. Let's go back in time and erase history. And so they convinced themselves in this delusion. They were like in a delusional state. They were in a delusional, apoplectic, hysterical, manic state for like 10 years. He's not wealthy anymore. He's not even a billionaire. And they went after Trump. Well, now, if you engaged in mortgage fraud because you lied on a document, then Trump's administration will go after you. This is the standard they created. It's not retribution.
Well, we are all waiting for accountability here. Adam Schiff went on Sunday morning programs and said there was collusion in plain sight. And he was the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, so he had to know better that there was no evidence of any collusion in plain sight. So are you saying that this criminal referral is about something completely different, about mortgage fraud? Are you looking to get him on something other than Russia collusion?
They're pulling bodies out of that.
Well, I'm saying that there's a referral from Bill Pulte about a mortgage fraud about Adam Schiff. That's publicly discussed. His own lawyers have been out there. Now there's more on Adam Schiff. And all we're going to do, again, is get to the facts of this and use all the tools that we have in our system. What we've discovered, and I know you want to ask me about some of this in the weaponization, is that Joe Biden's Justice Department actively targeted American citizens, Catholics who went to Mass, parents who went to school boards, people who were involved in the Russia. I hear from Carter Page every now and then. Carter Page was destroyed by the Russia hoax. And we're sitting around and pretending it's okay to say that, there was a secret meeting on December 9th, 2016 in the Situation Room where they plotted the Russia hoax. And then we're going to say, oh, that was really bad. No, it wasn't really bad. It needs to be held accountable in every way we can.
Well, you went to Letitia James's home this week. You were in New York.
I can't do Bernard Sanders now. Bernie Sanders, thank you. Debbie Wasserman, you were so kind to me, and it's too bad that the Russians wanted Trump over Hillary. And let's continue the broadcast.
Yeah, look, I'm a prosecutor, and when I do these cases, I was in New York I was in Newark, actually, New Jersey, for some meetings, and I went over to New York for another meeting, and I went by there. One of the referrals is about that property that she has, is a very prominent neighborhood in Brooklyn, and I wanted to lay eyes on it. I think most people, if you're prosecuting something, you're careful. I didn't go there and announce it. Some woman came storming up and shooting video and talking to me, but I wanted to see the property, and there's a number of other aspects of these cases where you got to get a sense of what is actually at stake.
Do you have a grand jury in these cases?
Let me say, when you get a criminal referral, one of the tools you have is a grand jury, and I'll leave it to you to infer what I mean. But these referrals are criminal referrals, significant enough that that they would warrant using all the tools, and the tools include subpoenas and witnesses.
And so I've been asked to do the Bernard Sanders voice. Bernie, oh my God, the Michigas Trump is doing. He's indicting everybody. And maybe even Hillary Clinton, which would be a travesty, not seen since the despots of times of old. But could you imagine when Brennan is indicted, the transatlantic accent? Oh, General Brennan, I am undeterred. This indictment for 25 examples of perjury is nothing more than what a despot does. An orange despot. And then, oh my God, every wonderful, morally superior leftist will be Comey, free Brennan, free all these people who set up and framed Trump illegally.
And that is in our system. That is the system. I'm not like Jack Smith. Jack Smith liked to talk about how he did things and what he did and brag about it. Letitia James did, by the way, as a prosecutor. She liked to come out and hold press conferences. I'll just tell you, when you get a criminal referral and her own lawyer made the comments publicly, you can infer what you need to.
Well, let's talk about January 6th, because you are also investigating January 6th, which was also part of this 10 years of scandals. What have you learned?
Well, again, Attorney General Pam Bondi let us loose on this, and there's a group of us working on January 6th. What we've learned is that the federal government, the Department of Justice, but other aspects, targeted these citizens. They basically turned government on to make the hoax work. So I'm not talking about somebody that pushes a cop. That's a charge you can look at in charge. I'm talking about that the FBI and others were putting American citizens on terrorism watch lists. They were auditing their IRS tax returns. They were targeting the American people. They were taking massive amounts of resources and moving them from fighting, child trafficking and fighting real corruption and saying we have to move everybody to look at the Capitol siege. It was a political hoax that was driven by Garland, Lisa Monaco, and others. And what, again, Attorney General Bondi has said is get to the bottom of it. Some of it may not be illegal, but it's some of the worst. In federal prosecutor world, we think about the importance of that role. There's a guy named Robert Jackson, who is the prosecutor guy. And what you see is Lisa Monaco's Justice Department acting in ways we've never seen before. This is going, and when we show all that, and we're writing reports regularly on it, it's not one aspect. The federal court system was used in a way. The jails were used in a way to punish people. It's foreign. They didn't do this to the terrorists after 9/11, and they were doing it to American citizens. So that's a fulsome investigation on January 6th, and it will make clear the hoax, which is really the 2020 election hoax. We were told we couldn't talk about it because of January.
Biden had pristine cognitive abilities. He won 2 billion votes fair and square. And he, by far, was the most popular candidate of all time because he was so eloquent and charming, and he defeated Cornflakes. And Cornflakes was a bad dude. He was a bad dude, man. Come on, man. Push-ups? You want to do push-ups, man? Come on now. Oh, George Clooney, man. George Clooney, man. Why, man? Why, George Clooney, man? And so, less than 4 years later, George Clooney and Hollywood said, we've had enough of you, most popular candidate of all time. The wonderful, morally superior Democrats believe that Joe Biden is the most popular candidate of all time, and that the Russians are afraid of Democrats, and they were so afraid of Hillary and her private servers, and Joe and his laptop full of graft, and so. And that's why, all of these publications, I don't want anyone to lose their jobs, but they're all going under. How many different publications say the same thing all the time for 10 years? Trump bad, Trump evil. There's 50 different liberal publications saying the same thing. Trump, he tried to foment a rebellion. Trump, he said both sides. Trump. And he won again. And so Trump is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of politics, ladies and gentlemen. He's the Obi-Wan Kenobi of politics. What can I tell you? Anyway, go to H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. Hit subscribe. God bless you all. I have the best viewers, the best comment section. I have the best live chat on my live streams. I just thank you. Be here tomorrow. I'll have a live stream probably around noon Eastern, 1 p.m. Eastern, maybe earlier. God bless you all, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor and a privilege to continue. We're going on 8-9 years. We're almost at 300,000 subscribers. Tell your friends. Let's get to that. We'll get to that very soon because we're going to a lot of people getting indicted. I've been telling you for 10 years. Nobody's cared really for 10 years. I mean, actually, people have. I'm talking about the country. The United States of America, the electorate wants people, if they broke the law, to be legally accountable. And that's what's taking place. And that's what I've been telling people in my writing in the Huffington Post back in the 20 Salon in 2015, 2016. Anyway, hit subscribe. God bless you all. It is such a beautiful honor to be on this journey with you. And we'll see. I mean, I think that there's going to be probably an indictment every month of a major individual. Bolton is said to be, John Bolton wrote a book, very intelligent with classified data potentially in there. John Brennan, shifty, possibly